Welcome, my friends. I love doing this podcast. But once again, Melanie and Marie-Pierre, let truth be told, you come back from holidays, amazing holidays, and I always ask myself the question, if I didn't have this mastermind, what would be the chances that this morning, like 24 hours after arriving, we would actually do the podcast? That's the question. So your environment really dictates who you are, who you become, and where you are going. So thank you, Marika. Thank you, Melanie Miller, for being there. It really drives me, really, really drives me. So today you have joined the Millionaire of the Diamonds podcast, and it is so important for me to make sure you understand if you're looking for motivation, this is not your podcast. If you're looking for inspiration, this is not your podcast. This is a transformational podcast. So yes, the word is boring. Oh, I got to transform myself. Yes, yes, yes. It's in the boring that I become who I need to become to achieve my next level. I don't remember where we read it. It was in Atomic Habits or something. It said, you've got to embrace the mundane. You've got to embrace the boring. You got to fall in love with the routine. And it is so true. So today we're diving into what Napoleon Hill called the fourth silent killer of success: lack of persistence. And once again, this episode, if it wasn't um, enveloppé, if it wasn't wrapped with the experience and the knowledge of me, Melanie, and Marie-Pierre, it would not go as deep. It would not go as deep. I don't think the word stubborn existed whenever this book was written, because it was written by men, for men only. And that is a word, Melanie, that men do not acknowledge stubbornness, right? It's manly. But you know what? Rewriting it today, I would definitely add to this category stubbornness. We're going to go into it, and this is the advantage of following the Millionaire of the Diamond. So today you're going to walk away with, how do I know my destination is still worth pursuing? What are the non-negotiable foundations I should never compromise? How do I measure real progress instead of relying on emotions? When should I adjust my course instead of changing my destination? And finally, how do I know when persistence has become stubbornness? Aha. Okay. Fine, fine, fine line. So you're going to be sharing this with everybody you know that quits everything they start, or you're going to be sharing this with people you know that said they would do something and keep doing it even if it's not worth the pursuit. Oh my God. Can I think of a lot of men, people in that category? So before I go on, I'm going to leave you in the hands of Marie-Pierre.
Okay, so it's time to share the podcast this morning. So you'll see the arrow just beside where you write your comments, so you can share on every social media platform. And you have a text in the comment that you can copy paste when you share, so people understand why they should click on the link and listen to the podcast this morning. But of course, like Maya said, if you have someone in mind, send it directly by messenger, by text message. Those one-on-one is the best way to make sure that they will click on the link and listen to the podcast this morning. So you'll see when you click on the arrow to share everywhere, you have the option to send it by messenger or text message. Then we have our contest.
Hello.
Cheese.
Okay.
Okay. Then we have our contest, Les Millionnaires de Diamant. So first, when you go on our Facebook group at Les Millionnaires de Diamant and special group, every time you post, every time you react, every time you comment on the group, you gain points during the month to be in the top 10 contributor. And at the end of the month, the official top 10 will get a voucher to go shop on the boutique Les Millionnaires de Diamant. And our top 10 month to date. So we have number 10, Louise Florent. Number 9, a page called Chill Vibe. Don't know.
Who? Who?
Chill Vibe.
Huh?
I don't know.
Okay, Jacqueline, write to them. Is she with us? I don't see her. Matthew, contact Jacqueline. She has to contact this person. I need to know who it is. Okay, go on.
Then number 8, we have Beth Gage. Number
Who?
7, Beth. You
Oh,
know Beth?
Beth. Yes, Beth. I know Beth.
Number 7, Linda Casava. Number 6, Sherry Novak. Number 5, Nadia Badam. Number 4, Kendra Sepingasol. Number 3, Lise Boucher. Number 2, Louise Gauthier. And number 1, Martha. So congratulations to our top 10 month to date. So you have until the end of the month to be in the top 10 contributor. And at the end of the month, we also have a draw at the end of the month So to be in the draw, there's two ways. First, with the boutique Millionnaires Diamants. So when you go on the boutique, you place your order, you take a picture, you receive your order, you take a picture, and you post on social media and you tag Les Millionnaires de Diamants to be in the draw. And the second way, same thing, but with the books Les Millionnaires de Diamants. So you just receive your order book, you take a picture, you're reading one of the book, you take a picture, you're doing one of the quiz book, you take a picture, you're doing something with your agenda Les Millionnaires de Diamants, you take a picture. You can have a new picture every day to post on social media and always tag the page Les Millionnaires de Diamants to be in the draw at the end of the month. And last thing, if you don't already have your ticket for the next conference, it's time to go and click on the link to get your ticket to be with us. And it's going to be a virtual conference, so you can join us from all around the world. And even if the time is not right for you, you can watch it in replay. You will receive the link to watch it in replay, but you need your ticket first. And for those that want to be in person, we still have some place, but it's limited space. So make sure that you send me a message as soon as you get your ticket so I can reserve a place for you in person. Voilà.
Thank you so much. So let's dive in, my friends. Okay. Lean in. I'm telling you, lean in. Persistence isn't refusing to change. What it's staying committed to what you believe in. So let me just circle back to the month of May 2025. We just had gone through the bankruptcy in the autumn 2024, and then January hits. The company was bought out, and I was really on the fence. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? But then I made the decision of this vision because it still answered to what what I've always been driven by, which is empowering men and women to reach financial freedom. And I've used this business as the vehicle towards that. And then once you achieve financial freedom, i.e., example, Melanie Miller, then it's is teaching somebody else, because it's not enough for me to achieve it. I need to make sure I continue to be an example and empower other people to do the same. Anyways, long story short, when I made that decision to continue because it still was aligned with my purpose and my vision and my mission, now it's very important that I'm persistent and not stubborn. This is where you're going to see, for those that follow us on our MLM page, is that everything is tracked. Everything is tracked. Nothing is left to the chance of being stubborn about it. Like, I've seen people in our business so stubborn, even if they saw that they weren't getting the results they wanted to achieve, even by one. So how many views, how many likes, how many this, like it's not the quantity of progress, but that there is some level of progress. You know, they lost their leadership title because of stubbornness. So I hope you're leaning in and understanding what we're going to be talking about today. Okay. Persistence and stubbornness are two fatal elements if you don't embrace them in the right way. So persistence is simply continuing and staying the course because there is some kind of little tiny minute progress. So stay the course. With time, it will give you the result. And stubbornness is there is zero progress. On the contrary, you're going backwards, and it's been this long and you refuse to admit that maybe you've got to tweak something. So I have to admit, for many years, I misunderstood what persistence really meant. I always thought persistence meant never changing anything. Okay, never giving up, never. I read a book, never give up, right? Never questioning. You just keep going. But now today that I've been married 40 years, I've been in this business for 40 years, coaching people, building teams, leading the business, I realized something. Persistence is not stubbornness, okay? There is a world of a difference. And I'm going to explain you in a very simple way that I love the way this example was written for me. Have you ever watched an airplane fly across the sky? You know, it's absolutely fascinating. I just got off a plane, right? Most of us imagine that once the pilot enters the destination in the computer, the airplane flies in one perfectly straight line until it lands. And that's it couldn't be furthest from the truth, because there's winds, there's storms, there's air pressure, there's changing conditions. The airplane spends almost the entire flight making tiny corrections, hundreds of them, and it adjusts, it recalculates, it changes altitude. Sometimes it even changes its route completely, because there's a better way to get to that same destination. Now, I need you to imagine how this has stayed with me for years, because success works exactly the same way. Persistence changes the route, stubbornness refuses the new route. See the difference? Okay. Persistence keeps asking, what's the next adjustment? Stubbornness keeps saying, I'm doing the same thing because I've always done it this way. The difference, there's a huge world of a difference between the two. And I'll give you a very personal example. And I'm going to go right into my marriage with Mohammed, that, for 4 decades now. People often ask me, Maria, what's the secret to your marriage, especially coming from two different worlds? And I always think back to something my mother taught me before I even got married. She told me, Maria, before you decide to leave a marriage, ask yourself these 5 questions. I watched her train women in her business on these 5 questions. She says, you always have to ask, does he respect you? Is he faithful? Does he stay away from being an alcoholic or a drug addict? Does he stay away from gabbling, wasting the family's money? Is there emotional or physical abuse? And she said, if those 5 foundations, now this is very important. You see, there's some kind of foundation here. Okay, are there? Don't spend your life looking for another partner. Spend your life building your marriage instead. So I've never forgotten those words, and I need you to know it's not always been a smooth ride like any marriage, right? Because what my mother was telling me was not to settle. No, 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 no. What she was telling me what wasn't to ignore the problems. What she was telling me wasn't to accept just anything Muhammad would do. What she was teaching me was something much deeper. What she was teaching me was, before you abandon something of value, you need to know what you're measuring. So Muhammad and I have had many, many disagreements. You can just, imagine it yourself. Different religion, different upbringing, different value. Not the values are the same, but different way of doing things, right? We had misunderstandings. We had seasons where communication was very, very difficult. We both had to grow. We both had to adjust, but we never confused adjustment with abandonment, because the foundation was still there and is still there today. The destination never changed till death do us part. The route did. Many, many times the route did. Now, here's what I think many people misunderstand with persistence. Some people stay in situation they should have left and they call it persistence. No, 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 no. Other leave situation they should build and call it wisdom. No, no, no. Neither is true. Persistence is never blind. Persistence is always measured. If an airplane discovers there's a storm ahead, it doesn't cancel the trip. It changes its course. If the instruments tell the pilot something is wrong, the pilot will pay attention. The pilot doesn't ignore the dashboard. Success is exactly the same. You don't ignore the indicators, you measure them. In business, are you learning? Are you improving? Are you getting better? Is there some kind of increase somewhere? Are your skills improving? Is it fulfilling you? Are you moving forward? Are you helping somebody else grow? Are you growing? Like, all these indicators is so important to understand. Persistence is measured by progress, and stubbornness ignores the obvious evidence. Now, I'm going to share something with you that's very, very important here. Writing this podcast made me realize that a lot of people have failed because they were stubborn and not persistent. Okay, have failed because they were stubborn and not persistent. So basically, we need to understand persistence is refusing to abandon a destination that still deserves your commitment. I'm truly committed to my marriage, to my children, to myself, my business, my family, because The proof is there that progress is happening. Maybe not as fast as I would want it to happen, but progress is there. Now, there is a science behind this, and I'm going to leave you in the hands of Melanie Miller for the science.
Thank you, Maria. And, this speaks to me a lot, persistence. And the word persistence and perseverance, I think probably perseverance was not a word that Hill was necessarily aware of. But I sort of feel like the persistence we're talking about in the dictionary definition is perseverance, because sometimes persistence can mean doing something just for the sake of doing it. But what we're talking about here is doing something because it's the right thing to do. So recently, I've been having more and more thoughts about retiring from Tupperware. There are other things that I want to do, and I feel drawn away from doing this. However, in my heart, I know I can adjust and make time for those things while still giving enough time to my business. Just this week, I've started using a new program called Opus Clips. It allows me with AI to clip pertinent things out of my personal videos in short clips. I do live at 5 every day, so I have plenty of material. What is really exciting me, though, is that I'm posting these new clips as shorts onto my YouTube channel, a media that I have never really used before, and I'm getting more than 1,000 views on some of them. And they are all clips about Tupperware products, how to use them, what is special about them. And it has given me a renewed confirmation of my worth to other people. Another way I can help them, another way I can reach my purpose. So let's look at the science behind what makes some people persistent and others not so much. Napoleon Hill believed persistence was a decision. Modern neuroscience agrees, but adds another layer. Persistence is also something the brain learns. Some people appear naturally persistent because over many years they've trained their brains to interpret setbacks differently. When something goes wrong, one brain says, "This isn't working." Another says, "This is feedback." The event is identical, only the interpretation changes. Psychologists call this a growth mindset, a term developed by Carol Dweck. People with a growth mindset don't believe failure says something about who they are. They believe it says something about what they should try next. That small difference changes everything. One of the biggest reasons people lose persistence is something psychologists call delay discounting. Our brains naturally place much more value on rewards that arrive today than on rewards that might arrive next month. Imagine making 10 recruiting calls. Perhaps nobody joins. Your brain immediately concludes, well, that wasn't worth the effort. What your brain cannot easily see is that those 10 conversations may produce 2 recruits over the next 3 months. The reward has been delayed. This happens constantly at Tupperware. Building a VIP group, learning Facebook, posting videos, training leaders, recruiting. But very little happens immediately, yet everything compounds. The brain loves immediate gratification. Success usually requires delayed gratification. That is why persistence is difficult. Dopamine doesn't wait until success. This is one of my favorite discoveries. For years, scientists thought dopamine was released only when we achieved something important. Now we know something different. Dopamine is released whenever the brain detects meaningful progress. That means every small improvement matters. Every booking, every customer, every recruit, every video posted, every training delivered, every kilometer run. The brain noticed movement, not perfection. This is exactly what happened to me recently. I hadn't suddenly become better at Tupperware. I simply discovered another way of helping people. Those little Opus clip videos started reaching hundreds, then over 1,000 people. Every time I looked at the numbers, my brain wasn't simply saying, "Look how many views." It was saying, "People are finding this useful." That reminded me why I do this business. And that feeling made me want to create another video, then another. That is dopamine doing exactly what it was designed to do. It encourages us to repeat behaviors that are meaningful. One of the most exciting discoveries in neuroscience is neuroplasticity. For many years, science believed adults couldn't change their brains. Today, we know they can. Every time we persist through something difficult, the connections involved in persistence become a little stronger. Every time we quit, those pathways become stronger instead. In other words, persistence is like exercising a muscle. The more we choose perseverance, the easier perseverance becomes. Not because life becomes easier, but because our brains are better trained. This is why I've always believed in tracking. Tracking isn't simply measuring performance, tracking is giving your brain evidence that progress is happening. Without tracking, we rely on feelings, and feelings are often inaccurate. We think, "I'm getting nowhere." Then we look at our records: 8 new customers, 3 recruits, 50 videos posted. Suddenly we realize, I've actually done much more than I thought. Tracking prevents discouragement. But, and I think this is equally important, it also prevents self deception. Sometimes we feel we're working incredibly hard, then we look honestly at our tracker, we discover we haven't actually done the activities that produce success. Tracking gives us truth, not emotion. That's why Hill constantly encouraged organized planning and measurement. The numbers don't criticize us, they simply tell us where we are, and once we know where we are, we know what happens, we know what needs to happen next. Looking at the last week or so, I realized it wasn't really Opus clips that renewed my persistence. It simply reminded me of my purpose. Every view represented another person I might help save time in the kitchen, save money, eat more healthily, or discover a product that makes life easier. The technology didn't change my purpose, it gave me a new way of living it. Research consistently shows that people who connect their daily work with a larger purpose persist longer, recover from setbacks more quickly, and experience greater satisfaction in their work. Persistence isn't just about determination, it's about continually reminding your brain why that effort matters. And to help us know what sort of character we are with respect to persistence, I leave you in the hands of Marie Pierre.
Thank you, Melanie. So yes, we continue with the quiz today to help us discover our level of persistence. Are we in the healthy level of persistence, or are we quitting too soon? Or maybe you are just in the stubbornness. So for each question, you want to choose the answer that sounds most like you, and not the one that you would like to answer. Okay, so we want to see what is natural for us when we have those situations. So let's start with question number one. You have A, B, or C to choose from. So question number one, you've been working toward a goal for 6 months and the results are slower than expected. So do you A, often decide maybe this isn't the right goal anymore and start looking for something different? B, you review what's working, make adjustment, and continue. Or C, you keep doing exactly what you always done because quitting is not an option. Question number 2. When someone gives you constructive criticism, do you A, begin questioning whether you should continue, B, listen carefully and use the feedback to improve, or C, usually defend your way of doing things because you believe that you are right? Question number 3. Life throws unexpected obstacle to your way. So do you A, often take it as a sign that it's time to move on? B, you adapt while keeping your destination the same? Or C, you refuse to change your plan even if it's clearly not working? Question number 4. Something that once excited you now feels repetitive. So do you A, usually start looking for something new? B, remind yourself why you started and keep improving? Or C, you keep going exactly as before even though you're frustrated? And question number 5. Which sentence sounds most like you? A, I enjoy new beginnings. B, I enjoy continuous improvement. Or C, I don't like changing my mind. So did you get mostly A, mostly B, or mostly C? So if you have mostly A, you are the destination changer. So you enjoy possibilities, you're optimistic, you're willing to try new things, but sometimes you mistake that temporary discomfort for a sign that you've chosen the wrong destination. So remember, every meaningful dream eventually will become difficult. So before changing your destination, ask yourself, do I need a new dream or simply a better strategy? Now, if you have mostly Bs, you are the healthy persister. So this is the balance that successful people develop. So you don't quit every time life becomes difficult, but you also don't ignore reality. So you measure, you learn, you improve, you adjust, and your commitment is to the destination, not the specific method. So keep doing this to continue your persistence. And if you have mostly C, now you are the stubborn builder. So your determination is admirable. So you don't give up easily, but sometimes that greatest strength become your greatest weakness because persistence will measure, but stubbornness ignore the rest. So the question isn't if I'm working hard enough, but the question is what my I'm doing still moving me toward the destination? Because sometimes changing your strategy isn't quitting, but it's wisdom. So 3 practical ways to develop that healthy persistence. Number 1, separate the destination from the route. So, and write your goal at the top of a page, for example, and underneath, list at least 3 different ways that you could reach that goal. Just to do that exercise will train your mind to stay committed to the destination while remaining flexible with the route. Now, number 2, create 3 success indicators. So don't wait for that final result to know if you're succeeding, but choose 3 measurable actions that you can track every week. So depending on your goal, it can be, for example, the number of conversation you have, the hour of practice, or the book that you complete, the healthy meal that you eat in the week, the day that you stay consistent. So if those indicators that you choose are improving, you are making progress, even if the final result has not arrived yet. And number 3, schedule that weekly pilot review. So just like the pilot, you don't wait on the pilot don't wait until they crash to change the course. So neither should we. So once a week, ask yourself what's working, what's not working, and what is that adjustment that you can do next week to improve. So on that, remember that persistence will keep you moving, but you need that wisdom that teach you the difference between changing the route and changing the destination. So don't quit too soon, but don't stay stuck too long either. So learn to measure, learn to adjust, and learn to keep your eyes on what truly matters. Because people that succeed, they succeed by changing the right thing while remaining faithful to the dream that still deserve their commitment. So on that, I wish you a beautiful day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for the next